Reporting for Jewish Online Magazine. Our special guest today is Louise Hager of Hager Cancer Care. Thank you for joining Jewish Online Magazine.
Delighted to be here, thank you.
Can I begin by asking you, how long has Hager Cancer Care been established?
So Hager Cancer Care became a registered charity just 22 years ago in 1990. But it actually goes back to 10 years before, when my mother, Frances Weingarten, who was one of the co-founders, was diagnosed with a rare form of cancer. And she, thank God, made a recovery after 2.5 years of being unwell. And there was no support in the community at that time, so we're talking over 30 years ago. She met up subsequently through the late Lady Yakovovitz of blessed memory, who knew Susan Shipman, whose young daughter Natalie had been diagnosed just before she was 3 and passed away just before she was 8. And it was a meeting of minds, of hearts, of a drive and determination that something positive should come out of their personal bitter experiences. And that's really when Chai started officially 22 years ago.
So there was a need for this service.
There was nowhere in the community. We are a fabulous community. The Jewish community has a lot to be proud of its services, the support services. We look after the elderly, people who are struggling financially, most illnesses, but no one wanted to talk about cancer. For so long, it was really terminal. One heard those words.
Was it a taboo subject, so to speak?
Absolutely taboo, absolutely taboo. And my mother and Susan were absolutely driven to make it a normal word, and make it a word that one can say without too much fear, because thank God we're seeing more and more people living longer and longer, the treatments are better, earlier diagnosis, and they wanted to make it a normal word. Not that people should be so frightened to actually articulate it. And when they first started, that was looked upon with some nervousness, some suspicion. Why even say it? Why get involved? And they knew the need. There was nowhere to go in the community where people could be supported and articulate their thoughts, their worries, their fears in a safe environment with people who understand and who had experience themselves.
Thank you for that answer. How has Hager Cancer Care evolved over the past few years?
Oh, beyond anybody's dream, of anyone's hopes or dreams of a cancer support organisation. It started in my mother's bedroom, because what we are seeing now is that people who, thank God, are cured by treatments can often be left with side effects that make life very difficult. My mother had various other operations as a result of the treatment that cured her. So it started in my mother's bedroom and grew to a small office.
Where?
Grew in Golders Green,
in
Golders Green,
okay.
And moved to a small office in Golders Green. Then we had half a floor in Shield House in Hendon. And then in 2003, we took an enormous gamble, a big step, and bought where we are now, our flagship centre in Hendon.
Why did you think it was a gamble then?
It was well, you're right, it's a very good, we knew it wasn't a gamble,
right.
But financially we took on a huge responsibility. We knew that unfortunately we would be needed, but at the time we didn't, the numbers are much smaller, but we have been, was the right move, because we're now supporting 1,650 cancer patients and their families.
1,650?
1,650. From here in Hendon, it was the largest number, and we have 7 satellite centres across the UK. And when I say it, it's with bittersweet emotions, because all of us, everyone who's involved in Chai, would wish that we'd be made redundant today, that there would be no need for our specialised care. But whilst there is, we are here, and for everyone who approaches us.
What sets Hager Cancer Care apart from other cancer care agencies?
It was in the beginning, when my mother and Susan first started Chai, people said, why Jewish? You know, cancer's cancer. What difference does it make? But they knew instinctively, and it's been proven that at times of crisis, people feel happier, they have a comfort level going back to their roots, and it's irrespective of a level of observance. There's something about walking into a Jewish organisation that has that feel, that heart. I can sum it up with two ways. When you come to Chai, you get a cup of tea and a biscuit. And there's something about food, the Jewish psyche, you know, we can all relate to that. Food is very important. But on a more serious level, we saw the grandparents of a little boy who had an inoperable brain tumour. We didn't see the little boy or his parents, but we saw the grandparents who, as soon as there was a diagnosis, came to see Chai. And they said their biggest fear was, how are they going to see their daughter sit Shiva? And so the conversation can take off immediately. The counsellor knows immediately what that means to watch somebody sit Shiva. And Chai's aim is to remove as many barriers so people can get the support that they need immediately, quickly, in an environment where their fears and their worries are understood.
Do you encourage volunteers to come on board?
Definitely. I mean, the volunteers are the backbone of any organisation, certainly at Chai. And all our Chai volunteers have that bit extra. They have had to have had cancer themselves, which means a personal experience, which means either themselves or being closely involved with a family member or friend. And they have to be at least 2 years after, if there's been a bereavement or if they've finished treatment, to make sure that there's time for them to come to terms with what they've been through. They have training and they have ongoing supervision. Because just something like driving someone to and from hospital, we rely a lot on our drivers and our volunteers, but just taking somebody to and from hospital can be very emotive. And we've got to protect our clients and the volunteers to make sure that they're all supported.
Has the Jewish community's attitude to cancer changed since Higher Cancer Care has come on the scene?
Significantly, I'm very glad to say. Well, remember that 20 years ago, when we first started, there was no internet or very little access. You hardly read anything in the newspapers. So generally, the cancer's become a word that's much more acceptable. And of course, thank God, we are seeing many more developments, positive developments in the treatment of it. But specifically in the Jewish community, we recognize very early that a cancer diagnosis, it may happen to one person, but the ripple effect is enormous, and family members, friends are affected. And so in the beginning, where people would say to us, husband, a wife, a child, a parent, I don't deserve support. Afterwards, not me who's got the cancer. Thank God we've come a long, long way, and people, family members are coming for support. And if I give you, just to back that up, approximately 60% of the 1,650 clients we're actually supporting will be the person with cancer, and the other 40% will be their family members. So we've made significant inroads. I'm very pleased.
They need that support, don't they?
Equally, in a very different way. You know, often the cancer patient is going to hospital, they've got their routine, they're being supported, but it's the loved ones who are watching what's happening. And again, this is a place where they can walk through the front door, close the world behind them, and get their space, their time, so they can go home and support the person with cancer that much better.
Does Higher Cancer Care offer support to non-Jewish people?
We are set up to meet the specific needs of the Jewish community, but obviously if there is somebody who has non-Jewish family but feels they can gain from coming to Chai, and there's a reason under that, of course we would support them.
Are people expected to make a donation for the care you offer them?
We are a charity. We don't get any statutory funding. We rely on the generosity of the community.
I hate to ask that question.
It's a question everybody asks, and I'm glad to have the opportunity to answer it. So when somebody comes originally and we speak to them, we tell them how we can support them. All we say is that we are a charity and we rely on donations. That's as far as we talk about donations. There is a box in the front when you come in. We have no idea what anybody puts in. But to give you an idea, last year our running costs were just under £1.7 million, and the monies that came in from the boxes in all the centres was £41,000. So all the money that we need is raised in the community, but our clients are never, ever, money is never an issue. and will never be, please God.
Does Higher Cancer Care get any support from government agencies?
Not a penny, not one penny. And if you think about it, the government is pulled in many different directions. They're cutting back on core services, on treatments. You read daily about rationalising postcode lottery, who's going to get what. So it's highly unlikely that we will get anything from the government. But I can't stress how wonderful the community has been to Chai. We wouldn't be able to do what we're doing the way we've developed without their wholehearted support.
So nice. That's so nice.
So grateful.
What's been the best achievement of Higher Cancer Care thus far, would you say?
The day it was established. Literally, the day it was established.
Right.
Because that gave the opportunity for the community to have somewhere to go. And I think that's it, really. We built on that. We built step by step. But literally, that was it, breaking through that barrier.
Does Higher Cancer Care have the support and encouragement of all the medical professions?
Definitely. They have been instrumental in opening the doors initially in the early days. They always recognise Chai's role in treating the patient, the person as a whole, not just the illness, the importance of emotional support, psychological support, practical support. And we have the most fantastic contacts with all the medical professionals, not just nationally but internationally. And they are literally an email away for advice, for second opinions, new trials. Definitely they have been, and please God will continue to be.
I know we've touched on this briefly, but can you expand on how you support the cancer patient families too?
Well, again, if you would ask the 1,650 clients what they get from Chai, everybody will tell you something different.
Right.
And that is our strength. No one who comes to Chai fits into a program, a slot, a package. This is what you can get and you're going to be limited to 5 of this, 10 of that. We respond to the need. And everybody who turns to us is an individual, has their own circumstances, their own personality, their own setup, and we give them what they need. Our aim is to make people find strength within themselves to face what's ahead of them or what they're going through. And that is always to help people become independent. But whilst they need us, we are there. But the counselling, I would say, is definitely our biggest service. We have counsellors with various areas of expertise, so relationship issues, couples, children, individuals, trauma, across the spectrum. We are very fortunate with the most wonderful, dedicated staff.
If cancer patients are not aware of Higher Cancer Care, can they be referred to Higher Cancer Care by their doctor?
They are, very often. We have a program called Signposting Chai, where we are constantly in touch with local surgeries, wherever there's a Chai centre, to let them know of the new services as they come online. We work very closely again with the GPs, with the oncology units in all the hospitals. We send leaflets, we send, where appropriate, our team to go down and tell them what Chai is doing. And they're very grateful to have a resource to be able to offer their clients, their patients, to have somewhere that they know is proved, is trusted, is safe. And we get, most of our referrals are through the professionals.
Can you tell me the origins of the name Higher Cancer Care? Why Higher Cancer Care?
Very good question. When Chai, the idea came, and my mother and Susan sat together and thought, what name would reflect what we're trying to achieve here? And they came up with the word Chai, the Hebrew word for life. And people thought they'd lost their minds, actually. They thought, have you gone mad? Who calls a cancer support organisation Chai? People die of cancer. And that was the overriding feeling 22 years ago. And they were adamant that people live with cancer. Thank God many people do recover and they live afterwards. But even very sadly, when there is a bereavement, when somebody passes away, the family still have to live with that. And we help people live each and every day with the effects of cancer diagnosis.
Can you give us an example of a case study from perhaps the beginning of perhaps a patient being diagnosed with cancer?
That's difficult in a way because everybody is so individual, but it's very often somebody's found a lump or they're not sure something is different, so they'll call Hager, and of course immediately we'll tell them to go and see your GP.
Right.
But often they need someone to tell them to do it. They're almost paralysed.
Really? Wow.
It's the fear, it's the unknown. So of course the GP is the first port of call. And then we'll pick up how and where they need it. I would say that approximately 25% of the people that we support we see in their own homes, and sometimes initially it's a very big step to lift your phone up and come into one of our high centres. So we will go home and hear what the story is, hear and explain what we can do and the different services we can support them with. In the main, it's counselling. I was saying when the initial shock and impact is they need to speak to somebody about what's. Often people go off their food, obviously, the appetite, they can gain weight because of the medication they're on, so the dietitian, nutritionist is very important. They can join a group sometimes, they want to join the exercise group.
I was going to say, exercise is very important, isn't it?
Exercise is extremely important. Macmillan have just done a study on the importance of exercise, not just after treatment, but during treatment, to help people keep up their body, their mass, their body weight, to keep fit. And we have a few different levels.
Well, physically and mentally.
Physically and mentally. But even physically, we have a gentle movement class of people who can't do anything too strenuous. And it's geared to go at their pace. Our gym, we've got a gym here, which we took the inspiration from the Marie Curie hospice at Eden Hall Hospice in Hampstead. They put a gym in there and it was so successful. And in fact, people said to them, how do you put a gym in a hospice? People come here to die. And that's also the perception is wrong, because approximately 50% of people come out of hospices, they go for respite. So the whole cancer care is changing and evolving. And we have got a dedicated gym where we have one-on-one physiotherapy, one-on-one body movement classes, and groups together.
Do you work with non-Jewish cancer agencies?
Very much cross-referring the whole time. We've got our area of expertise, and we don't duplicate and we don't replicate. But we will work with other organisations to make sure that whoever turns to us gets the best care, get the whole package of what's available to them.
Are high cancer care services available nationwide?
Yes. When we were established here, we realised that everybody can come to North West London. So we looked to see where was the next area that we could bring our expertise and care to, and that was Ilford to Redbridge. That's the next largest conurbation area. And we approached Jewish Care, Sinclair House, to see do they have any free rooms. Again, we believe in working with other organisations, not to have extra costs. They had some spare rooms, and we started a satellite service in Redbridge in 2007, I believe it was, and that was very successful. And now we have one in South Manchester, one in North Manchester, one in Glasgow, South London, and Hackney. We work out of people's homes, and we have grown across the UK.
If viewers who are watching this video interview want to know more information about high cancer care, do you have a website? We have a wonderful website that we update constantly, and that gives a flavour of what we're doing. But nothing, I think, is the same as a personal contact, if possible. All our staff are totally confidential. I mean, that's something we need to stress very much in the Jewish community. Confidentiality for us is absolutely paramount, and anybody who contacts Hager can be assured of that. Sensitivity, compassion, knowledge, guidance, and I would urge anybody who feels they can benefit to contact us. Our biggest, what we hear, thank God, less than we used to hear, is I wished I'd contact you earlier. I didn't know the difference you could make to helping us deal with the day-to-day issues that crop up. And we've done it, we've been there, so we can help people, please God. So, if Jewish Online magazine viewers want to volunteer or help with any fundraising activities, they can call the office here.
Great.
And
we're ready, we're waiting. Because every single bit, it isn't just the money, obviously we need it, but it's raising our profile, raising awareness, making Chai a household name. And again, we have a great PR company that does a lot for us, but we've never had to search for a mission statement we get it all from our clients. And years ago we were given a mission statement, and it was by a lady who came to us. She had advanced breast cancer, and she came to Chai, and I never forget, we were sitting around the table, and she actually banged the table, her hand, and she was so vehement, she pointed her finger and she says, "You," and she went, "Chai, you cannot rest until you become the first port of call and not the last resort." So anything that can raise the profile, anything that gives people encouragement to lift up the phone to contact us, we welcome, we bless, and very thankful for it.
Louise Hager, Chai Cancer Care, thank you for joining Jewish Online Magazine.
Thank you.